everyone, how are you doing? I've got to tell y'all, after my last video, actually, I think even before shooting my last video, I kind of hit a wall. At the very beginning of all of this, I kept telling myself, okay, you're going to stay positive, you are going to be productive, you're going to make this time inside completely worth it. And I gotta tell you, it kind of started getting to me last week. I found myself feeling really tired, really disconnected, just totally out of it. And I kind of feel like my last video, I was trying really, really hard to not seem tired and burnt out in my last video. So I apologize for that. I'm feeling a little better. Yesterday was another one of those days where I woke up and all I wanted to do was go back to bed. I just wanted to sleep. I was I was so tired and I was so unmotivated, and that's not me. Anyone who knows me knows I'm very driven. I'm always very motivated, very hopeful, always thinking, "Oh, well, I can't wait to get this next book out," or "I can't wait to go on my next adventure." But not having book signings and events to look forward to is it's gotten me down a little bit. I'm not gonna lie to you, but you know what? It's totally normal, and it's okay to feel that way. I talked to a couple of my best friends. They said, you know what? You just gotta ride it out. Just gotta ride it through. You're gonna be okay. Acknowledge that it is okay to feel that way. Eat yourself a big bowl of ice cream and, just take care of you and your mental health for the day. And so that's what I did. I ate a giant bowl of Bluebell's Dutch chocolate ice cream, which I've been eating. I've been eating way too much of it, y'all. That's how I've gotten through that and my cat. Dutch chocolate ice cream and my cat is how I've gotten through this pandemic. And I started reading Beach Read by Emily Henry. It was my book of the month this last month, and oh my gosh, I'm over halfway through it. I'm gonna finish it today, and it's just reading this fun rom-com, which is actually making me laugh out loud. It has just made me feel so much better. It made me feel so much more myself. So I thought today we would go back to Trashy romance novel because it's a lighthearted rom-com, and that's what's been making me feel better. So I hope it makes you feel better too if you're feeling tired or if you're feeling burnt out. It's a thing, y'all. It's a thing. Oh, and here's a fun fact. Did y'all know that this is actually my sister on the cover? That's my sister KJ. When I took this picture, she had wanted to go out to the Arboretum to take some pictures for her senior voice recital in college. And I said, hey, sit there and hold this book and pose. And she made me edit out her face though, because she did not want to one day be looking for a job and have them Google her and see that she was a cover model for a book called Trashy Romance Novel. Oh, but she's so beautiful, isn't she? Aw, I love bragging that that's my sister. Anyway, let's get back to Scotland, because, y'all, I've been dreaming about Scotland. I dreamt about it last night. I miss it so much. I've been looking at all the pictures. One day, I'm coming back to you. I promise. Okay. Oh, and just a reminder, Delaney and her best friend Gemma are traveling to Scotland because Delaney's trashy romance novel, The Queen's Surrogate, is being turned into a mini-series, and no one knows her as Delaney Brooks. They all know her as Lorelei Dubois, which is her pen name. So they've just landed in Edinburgh, and they're driving through the Highlands, where they're going to be filming at a castle called Dunedaur Castle, but for the meantime, they're in the studio because they're about to go to their first read-through, but the cast, of course, has been reading through for a while now. This is the final read-through before they start filming. Chapter 3. I've never been very good at keeping my cool around famous people. Once, when I was in college, I got to meet my favorite band. I was so starstruck, I blabbered on and on about how their music had helped me through some of the worst periods of my life. Long periods, emotional periods, painful periods. Of course, when I said periods, I meant periods of time. It wasn't until I stepped away that I realized that how they, their security team, and all the other fans within earshot probably interpreted it. Needless to say, I wanted to bury myself in a hole. Now, whenever I get the chance to meet celebrities I admire, I make a very deliberate point not to talk. Unfortunately, I'm probably not going to be able to get away with that here on location. This is it? Gemma asks, gazing around at the silver trailers, the golf carts, and the portable buildings that definitely wouldn't withstand the harsh summer storms we left back in Texas. This is Lot B, Andrew explains. We won't actually visit the set itself until we begin filming tomorrow. Yeah, don't worry, this isn't the castle, I said. Gemma shoots me another glare. Smartass. Sorry, I make bad jokes when I'm nervous. You must get nervous a lot, she remarks. Okay, I probably deserve that. Andrew and Louise escort us through one of the buildings back to a deceptively large room. At the far end of the room sits a small table with a coffee pot and several barren platters of leftover fruit, bread, and one single solitary biscuit. There are 2 bulletin boards hanging on the walls, one on either side of the room, and they're both covered with sketches, typed out lists, and handwritten notes. A long conference-style desk takes up most of the room, however, and it isn't until I take a second glance that I realize that most of the people sitting around it are very famous. Rose Cervantes, a young, fresh face from America, occupies the chair closest to the door. She's only 22, which granted is 4 years older than Corinne Fletcher in the book, but still, she looks so young. She's exceptionally beautiful, however, with her petite features, honey golden hair, and big brown eyes that give her an innocent, almost elfin appearance. Seated next to her is British actress Genevieve Brown, who will be playing Queen Annette. The Queen is supposed to be in her mid-30s, but Genevieve is younger than I am, only 25 or 26. Although I would be lying to you if I said she didn't look exactly like my vision of Queen Annette, with her jet black hair and gorgeous tawny eyes. I can't name or place the 3 guys on the other side of Genevieve. They may be playing Corinne's brothers or other minor roles, but I definitely recognize the man at the far end of the table. Colin Ward was the stereotypical Hollywood bad boy when I was in high school. All of my friends thought he was just so dreamy and rebellious with his dark hair that fell into his gorgeous brown eyes, and his motorcycle and his tattoos and every other cliche that you can possibly imagine. Unbeknownst to his fans, however, he had also fallen prey to a destructive drug and alcohol addiction. He was only 26 years old when he almost overdosed. I remember that day vividly. It was the same day I took the SAT for the first time. I'm just gonna go ahead and make a mental note not to mention that to him. Thankfully, he recovered, and after he was released from the hospital, he checked himself into rehab and dedicated himself to cleaning up his life. As far as I know, he's been clean and sober for almost 12 years. I'm glad he was able to overcome his demons. He really is a phenomenal actor, and I've enjoyed a lot of his movies. But I still don't see him as Wrigsley. Sitting across from Colin is another renowned, though not quite as notorious heartbreaker, Benjamin Windham. Benjamin's rise to fame is a bit of a unique one. Like so many British stars before him, he actually trained to be a theater actor. He caught his big break a few years ago when he was cast as a young Dr. Frankenstein in a modern-day remake of Mary Shelley's classic. Tall, lanky, and very ginger, I don't think anyone really expected him to become a heartthrob. But there was something about his soft-spoken nature and boyish charms that made him very popular with the ladies. And it didn't take him long to embrace his newfound popularity. What's funny is that he still gets typecast as the sweet, brainy, awkward characters who rarely get the girls. Go figure. Carl Reynard, the executive producer, and Elizabeth Cook, the series director, sit next to Benjamin. But there, next to Elizabeth, oh my god, it's him. It's really him. Matthew Kent. And he's looking right at me with those eyes. Those intense blue eyes. Oh god, I don't think I can move. He is so much hotter in person than on the silver screen. Or any screen for that matter. To play King Malcolm, he's let his golden brown hair grow out again. Not quite as long as it was in that vampire movie, but long enough to give him that wavy Renaissance look. His beard is also much fuller than I've ever seen it. Very regal, very sexy. But seriously, everything about him is sexy. Even the plain blue t-shirt that he may have bought from Target for all I know is sexy. Probably because it's hugging those broad, sturdy shoulders. Lucky t-shirt. Ah, just in time, Carl Reynard stands to greet Gemma and me. Welcome, ladies. I'm assuming one of you is Lorelei Dubois? That would be her, Gemma answers because I've temporarily forgotten how to breathe. Yeah, hi. I wave like an idiot. It is a pleasure, Miss Dubois, Carl says, shaking my hand. Then he turns to Gemma. And you are? This is my friend, my assistant, my friendly assistant. Okay, this is why no one should let me talk. Thankfully, Benjamin Windham chuckles, like maybe he thinks I'm cute or something. Or maybe he just feels sorry for me. It's probably the latter. I'm Gemma Price, Gemma introduces herself. You know, maybe I've been doing this all wrong. Maybe I should have let her stand in for me and pretend to be Lorelei. She's far more confident and charismatic than I'll ever be. She could definitely pass for a sultry romance author. Besides, it's not like Lorelei Dubois is a real person. Miss Price, welcome. We're delighted to have you. And we are delighted to be here, Gemma says. As we were just discussing, this is the final read-through before we begin filming tomorrow, Elizabeth fills us in. Now, since most of the season will be filmed inside and around the castle, we're going to begin by getting the studio scenes out of the way. The farm scene, the tournament scene, and so on. So there will be a few days this week that we won't be needing our principals quite so bright and early. But that's not to say you get the day off, Carl remarks, casting a sidelong glance towards Benjamin. Why are you looking at me? He asks, feigning innocence. Wow, he is so aware of how cute he is. Carl doesn't answer. Instead, he sits back down and motions for Gemma and me to sit down as well. Gemma deliberately takes the empty chair at the close end of the table, leaving the only seat available for me right next to Matthew Kent. I'm going to strangle her. Heart beating erratically, hands and knees trembling like I just downed 10 espresso shots, I make my way over to my spot. Thankfully, I don't trip or knock anything over. Matthew watches me the entire time. It's nice to meet you, he murmurs, his voice low, rough, and oh so sexy. Likewise, I somehow manage to squeak. Don't be embarrassing, don't be embarrassing, don't be embarrassing. Oh, fun fact. Okay, so here's a story about me meeting a celebrity that's kind of like this. Sorry, once again, you're going to get the author's audio commentary in the midst of the story. So last year, I was at a Comic-Con. I was at Fandemic, I think. Yeah, it was Fandemic in Houston. And the main celebrity guest there was Sebastian Stan. And so it was the last day of the con, right? And it wasn't open yet, and I was just, at my table preparing. My sister, who's my assistant / cover model, was with me. She was probably on her phone. And the people who I was sharing a booth with were down at the other end. And the doors open. I was right in front of the entrance, right? And this group of people walk in. And at first, I'm like, oh, random group of people, whatever. And then I noticed there's this guy staring at my books. And this guy is gorgeous. And, when I see a cute guy, my brain just kind of goes, hey, look at that. And I looked at him for a minute, and he made eye contact with me. And he's in a baseball cap. And then something clicked, and I go, that's Sebastian Stan. And, the group of people around him were, his security entourage. And my brain just immediately went, don't be weird. Don't be weird. Don't scream at him. He's just a person. And so I look at him and I'm just like, hi, do you want a business card? And he was very polite. He said, oh no, we're just looking. I haven't had the chance to really look around. And he just kept walking. He didn't stop to talk or anything. But my brain just went, don't be weird. Don't freak out. Don't be normal. Please be normal. And it wasn't until after he passed and I realized that I was sitting there like, hey, trying to seduce him, that I realized I was wearing my Camp Nowhere t-shirt and baseball cap from Stranger Things. I literally met Sebastian Stan dressed like a 12-year-old boy. Yeah, that's my celebrity story. And later that day, my sister and I drove home and almost drove through a tornado. That was just the wildest day of 2019. Just saying. That kind of defined the whole year, meeting Sebastian Stan and tornadoes. But anyway, so that's my, that's, whenever you ask if authors write themselves into characters, yeah, we do. That's exactly, and I wrote this before I actually had that experience. So it's a real thing. Anyway, don't be embarrassing. I'm really happy you're here. That's Delaney talking to Matthew Kent. I'm really happy you're here? I mean, I guess it wasn't as embarrassing as it could have been, but I still sound like a bumbling idiot. I'm really happy you're here? This is his job. Where else would he be? Mercifully, he smiles. I'm happy I'm here too. I think your books are wonderful. You're kidding, I remark before I can stop myself. I'm instantly mortified. I'm sorry, that was so rude. What I meant was thank you, and I think your films are wonderful. You're too kind. They're not even my films. Sure they are. What are you talking about? Well, I didn't write them or anything. I just read the lines they tell me to read. I don't think you're giving yourself enough credit. You're an amazing actor. Well, thank you, Miss Dubois. That's very sweet. Oh, Lorelei, please. All right, Lorelei, he smiles. I think I smile back. My face is feeling sort of numb, probably because I just got smacked really hard with the fact that I'm sitting here talking to Matthew Kent like he isn't an actual god of hotness among mere mortal men. Let's begin, shall we? Elizabeth asks. It is worth noting that this series will be 8 episodes long. Each episode will last 55 minutes, with the exception of the pilot episode, which will last 80 minutes. Now, without further ado, she picks up her copy of the script and begins to read. The Queen's Surrogate, Episode 1, The Tournament. I actually co-wrote the script with 2 other writers, Cody Wagner and Sarah McTavish, both of whom are actual real writers and real friends of mine. I know in real life. They're awesome. Who helped me condense all 4 books into an 8-episode series. Although I've never met either in person, most of our collaboration was done via Skype, I thoroughly enjoyed working with them, which sort of surprised me. Growing up, I was never one for group projects, probably because I was usually the only one who cared to get the work done. Like I said, I was a bit of a nerd, and an overachiever, and a goody two-shoes who would never, ever in a million years read a trashy romance novel, let alone write one. Unlike my moocher classmates, however, Cody and Sarah are wonderful, hardworking, and nothing short of brilliant. If this show is a success, it will be because of them, not me. The read-through itself is actually a lot of fun, which surprises me. Normally, I hate hearing my own words read back to me, but when they're recited by professional actors, it's not only bearable, it's enjoyable. I can't wait to see it brought to life on set. It's especially thrilling to hear King Malcolm's lines spoken by Matthew Kent in his sexy, gravelly, baritone voice. After all the times I tried to conjure up the sound of his voice in my head, it's surreal to actually hear it with my own ears. I trust him, Matthew reads. Well, I don't, Genevieve Brown as Queen Annette insists. He is cruel, manipulative. Why else would he suggest such a thing? Because the kingdom needs an heir, Matthew spits, and you have failed to provide one. I'm sorry, my lord. Genevieve sounds like she's weeping, so much so that I glance over to make sure she's okay and to see if she needs a tissue. You are not to blame, Matthew concedes with a sigh. But don't you see, my love? This is the only way. I know, Genevieve whispers. But to bed another woman? To parade her around in front of me while she carries your child? I don't know if I will be able to bear it. The child will be ours, not mine. He will belong to you as much as me. The girl, she will simply be a vessel, a mere object, nothing more. Of course they're discussing Colin's Ward character Wrigsley in this scene. Wrigsley is King Malcolm's evil advisor. Part of what makes him such a douchebag is the way he acts like he has the best interest at heart, while in reality he knows precisely how hurtful he's being. The problem with Colin Ward playing him is that no one is supposed to find Wrigsley even remotely attractive. I abhor Wrigsley. I wrote him to be abhorred. And yet I guarantee you now, thanks to whoever decided to cast Colin Ward, fans are going to start fawning over Wrigsley and writing trashy romance fanfiction about him. And that's just, oof, gross. After Colin reads the final line in the episode, "Welcome to His Majesty's service, Mistress Fletcher," Gemma leaps up out of her seat and applauds. I'm guessing that's not something that's often done after table reads, because everyone turns to stare at her. She sits back down. Benjamin Windham chuckles. Right, Elizabeth Cook announces. Thank you so much, everyone. Well done. I will see you all tomorrow. Except for you, Rose. Kara from the costume department needs to see you. So how have you enjoyed your time in Scotland so far? Matthew Kent asks me as we all prepare to leave. Oh, I love it, I answer. We haven't seen very much yet, but I'd love to go back and explore Edinburgh, maybe visit the castle. You definitely should, he tells me. Then he gathers up his script and jacket and walks straight out the door without so much of a goodbye or it was nice to meet you. I hate it when guys do that. Lorelei! Gemma exclaims, rushing to my side. She's in such a hurry that she almost collides with Benjamin Windham as he tries to slip past me. Oh, I'm sorry, Benjamin. No, don't worry. No harm done, he assures her as he flashes one of his $1,000,000 smiles. I just want you to know that I'm a huge fan. I've seen practically everything you've ever been in, Gemma sighs. Thank you, you're very sweet. As Gemma attempts to work her charms on one of the world's most eligible bachelors, I can't help but notice Colin Ward maneuvering his way around his fellow castmates on the other side of the room. He slings I'm bad at tongue twisters. He slings a black backpack over his shoulders and runs a hand through his dark locks as he strides toward the door. He must sense me watching because before I can look away, his dark brown eyes lock with mine. I blush, embarrassed to have been caught staring. But to be fair, he's probably used to it. Sure enough, he gives a swift nod, a casual acknowledgement before disappearing out the door. Crisis averted. Well, maybe I can show you around the country sometime. And just like that, my attention snaps back to Benjamin Windham, who, unless my ears are deceiving me, just offered to be Gemma's own personal tour guide. Oh my god, I love that, Gemma squeals. Wait, what? I ask. You'd be welcome to come along as well, Lorelei, Benjamin says. Well, if she has the time, Gemma declares. Her schedule is going to be pretty hectic. And I should know, being her personal assistant and everything. I'd love to point out that if my schedule is hectic, then so is that of my personal assistant. But Jem, of course, isn't really my assistant, and even if she was, I know she wouldn't let that stop her from running off to some small Scottish town with Benjamin Windham. Oh, of course, Benjamin winks at her. Miss Dubois? Miss Pierce? Louise approaches us. Pardon the interruption, but we're scheduled to get you checked into the hostel at 4, so you'll have time to unpack and relax before dinner. Oh, thank you, Louise, I tell her. I guess I won't keep you, Benjamin says. See you both tomorrow? Before I can answer, Gemma flashes him her brightest smile. We'll be here. You know what, since it's Sunday, and since it's been kind of a blah week, I'm going to give y'all a bonus chapter. I'm going to read chapter 4, also because I love this book, and I love pretending that I'm in Scotland. I miss it so much. So the hostel that I based their stay off of in this, I actually stayed in a hostel quite like this when I was in Scotland, and it had exactly, in the community shower room, it had exactly 3 showers, and one was really cold, one was really hot, and one was in between. And so, my sister and I were there together, and I thought, I'm going to be a great sister, and I'm going to let her take the medium shower, and I'll take the hot shower because I'm a very cold person. I can handle hot showers. I take hot showers anyway. So we're both in the showers, and I'm dealing with the hot shower. It's fine, whatever. And all of a sudden, I hear my sister just go, ah! And I said, what? And I'm expecting, I don't know, is there a bug in the shower? What's going on? And she goes, okay, it went from really hot to really cold. And I realized that when they said that, there was one shower in between, it wasn't like a mixture of hot and cold water. It went from really hot to really cold, back to really hot, back to really cold. And I felt so bad. I was trying so hard to be a good sister and let her have the good shower. And she ended up with the worst possible option of all. So that was the hostel that I based this off of. It was an adventure, let me tell you. And then the bathrooms, when you went to the toilet, one of the windows was open, and if you're from Texas where it's hot all the time, Scotland, it isn't that cold, but it's cold. And they left the window open, and I'm sitting there in the middle of the night trying to go to the bathroom, and it's freezing, and but no, I loved it. I miss Scotland every minute of every day, and I would go back in a heartbeat. Which is probably why I write so much fan fiction about Scotland. Chapter 4. Oh my god, Gemma cries out once we're locked securely in the back seat. I can't believe this. I can't believe this. I met Benjamin Windham, and he wants to show me the country. Judging by the look that Andrew and Louise just exchanged, this isn't the first time Benjamin has invited a girl to go exploring with him. But I'm not about to crush Gemma's hopes and dreams. Besides, it's not like I'd turn down a date with Benjamin Windham either. You wouldn't mind, would you? Gemma asks me. Mind what? If I took a day off to go exploring with Benjamin? Are you kidding? Of course not. You're the best boss ever, you know that? She smiles at me. Speaking of hot British guys, you look like you were getting pretty cozy with Matthew Kent. Oh, she did not just say that in front of our 2 new coworkers, who know Matthew Kent, who work with him, who don't know I'm totally in love with him, but will probably figure it out if Gemma doesn't shut her big fat mouth. We're talking, that's all. Or we were talking, that's all. He was being polite. I don't know, he seemed pretty interested if you ask me. He did just break up with his girlfriend, Louise chimes in. Guys, we talked for a grand total of 30 seconds, if that, I remind them. Though it is good to know that he's 100% single. You never can be certain when it comes to celebrities. Lorelai, why do you always do this? Gemma asks. What am I doing? You're resisting. You have this bizarre notion in your head that it is impossible for men to find you attractive, and for the life of me, I have no idea why. Well, actually, yes, I do, but it's time you got over it. You're beautiful, you're smart, you're hilarious in your own special little way. It's not a crime to let yourself be desired. God, Andrew and Louise are going to think we're insane. I'm not resisting, I'm being realistic. And the reality is we exchanged pleasantries. That's it, I explain. But you do fancy him, Louise asks. You've got to be kidding me. I think Gemma can tell that I'm beginning to feel flustered. So without missing a beat, she grins and asks, doesn't everybody? Louise shrugs in acknowledgement as we pull into a long circular driveway leading up to a 2-story building that resembles a cabin, but not an idyllic log cabin that you find on the edge of an enchanted forest. This looks more like the kind of cabin you'd stay in on your first sleepaway summer camp. You'd stay in at your first sleepaway summer camp. Wait a minute, where are we? Gemma asks. We're here, Andrew announces. Welcome to the Dunedara Highland Lodge, your new home for the next 2 months. Thankfully, the Dunedara Highland Lodge is much nicer inside than its outward appearance might suggest. Granted, it's not all that big or fancy, but it's very clean and the air smells like fresh pine. Inside the main entry hall, there's a reception desk, just like a hotel. Yes, of course, Miss Dubois and Miss Price. Welcome. The girl working the desk smiles once Andrew and Louise introduce us. Your room is on the 2nd floor, as are the women's showers and toilets. We do serve a continental breakfast every morning and supper every evening. There is no curfew, but we do ask that you do not bring any unregistered guests into the hostel with you. If you have any questions, someone is always here to answer them. Once Gemma and I each have a key to our room, Andrew and Louise bid us a good evening and promise to be there first thing in the morning to pick us up. Call is 7 a.m., but don't worry, there will be breakfast and plenty of coffee, Louise assures us. And then they're gone, leaving Gemma and me alone with our luggage in the lobby of the Dunedara Highland Lodge. Thankfully, the girl who checked us in calls for 2 employees to help us carry our bags to our room. Our room, it turns out, is little more than just that. A room. It's very small and almost completely empty except for a single set of bunk beds and 2 3-drawer dressers. Delaney, Gemma says, glancing around our meager accommodations. We need to talk. Yeah, I had a feeling this was coming. Oh? I feign innocence. You told me we were staying in a 4-star hotel. Actually, I told you we were staying in a 4-star hostel. What's a hostel? Well, this is, I answer. This is certainly about to make me hostile. Come on, Gem, it's not that bad. Delaney, we're sleeping in bunk beds. Yeah, so? I haven't slept in a bunk bed since I was 8. I'll let you have top bunk if you'd like. How am I supposed to seduce Benjamin Windham in a bunk bed? Well, technically, since we're not allowed to have guests, you probably can't. Not to burst her bubble or anything. Oh, so this is so not how I imagine the day ending, she moans and rubs her eyes like she's trying to fight off a headache. Look at it this way. Chances are we won't be here that much. We'll just be sleeping here. And bathing in the community showers. Okay, that part does kind of suck. It's kind of like a dormitory. Delaney, I am almost 30 years old. I am well past the age of dorm living. So we'll revisit our youth for a while. I don't want to revisit my youth. I want to make passionate love to Benjamin Windham while he whispers sweet British nothings in my ear. Well, he probably has a cot or something in his trailer. I'm sure he'd be happy to shag you there. That's my favorite British word, by the way, shag. It's like that episode of, or that video clip of Benedict Cumberbatch going, and a damn good shag. I love that word. Oh yeah, that'll be sexy. Hey Ben, you're looking hot today. Let's go hook up in your trailer. Better than hooking up in a bunk bed, I shrug. Gemma narrows her eyes and glares at me. You think this is funny, don't you? Well, we'll see who's laughing when Matthew Kent wants to spend the night with you and you have to explain to him that he can't come back to your place because your place is this place. First of all, no, I don't think this is funny. This isn't exactly what I was expecting either. But I also don't think it's worth getting upset over something that isn't going to happen. And exactly what isn't going to happen, Delaney? I wasn't talking about you and Benjamin, I assure her. And honestly, I wasn't. When Gemma decides she wants something, she usually gets it. Especially when that something is a man. I meant Matthew and me. And why wouldn't that happen, she demands. Because I'm just trying to be realistic, okay? Being here is a dream come true, I know. But the fact of the matter is that Matthew and I are both here to do a job. The chances of him actually being interested in me are about slim to none. Wow, way to write him off before you even spent any time with him at all, Gemma remarks. Or maybe it has nothing to do with him. Maybe you're just writing yourself off before you give him the chance to prove you wrong. Oh man, my computer just said something to me. Okay. Aren't these videos fun and high quality and professional? Sorry. I open my mouth to argue, but deep down I know there's no point. We have the same discussion every time I meet someone. She thinks I fear rejection, so I go out of my way to sabotage my relationships. And okay, fine, maybe I do have a minor fear of being rejected, but this is different. This isn't some guy I met at a bar or through one of those god-awful dating apps. This is Matthew Kent. He's a movie star. He's rich. He's gorgeous. He could literally have any woman he wants. He's not going to be interested in me. I just don't think it's going to happen, Jem. Delaney, Gemma sighs. I wish, just for 5 minutes, you could see yourself the way that I see you. The way that everyone around you sees you. Because if you could, believe me, you wouldn't need all these walls. You wouldn't resort to constant self-deprecation because you think you can't get it through your head that someone might actually find you attractive. You would be able to see yourself, or you would be able to let yourself be loved the way you deserve to be loved. See, this is why Gemma Price is my best friend. She's picky and loud and high maintenance as hell. She's always been protective of me. She's always stood up for me, even when I'm the one putting myself down. She loves fiercely and shamelessly, and that's something I both admire and envy. I love you, Gemma, I tell her. I love you too. Even if I do have to share this cold, crappy, and not luxurious in any way room with you for the next 2 months. I appreciate that. You'd better, she grumbles. So, do you think the food here is better or worse than the accommodations? I check the time on my smartphone as my stomach begins to growl. Dinner should be served by now. I guess there is only one way to find out. The dining room of Dunedar Highland Lodge is something of a mess hall. Fitting, considering the food tastes exactly like my elementary school cafeteria food. Except instead of pizza or burgers, the hostel serves a dinner roll, overcooked green beans, roasted potatoes with no seasoning whatsoever, boiled chicken, and something that looks like brown, grainy fish eggs. What is that? Gemma asks me. Of course, our server overhears. That's haggis, ma'am. Gemma pulls back and stares at her plate, horrified. You mean that gross stuff that they cook in a sheep's stomach? We are in Scotland, I remind her, scooping a small sampling onto my fork. Delaney, if you eat that, I swear to God. But it's too late. I bring the fork to my mouth and take a bite. It's an interesting texture, not one that I particularly like. But it doesn't taste bad. It's more like a seasoning, which surprises me. Maybe that's why the rest of the food is so bland. Fun fact, I tried haggis when I was in Scotland. I'm a crazy picky eater, but when you're in Scotland, you gotta try haggis. It actually wasn't bad. It really was more like a seasoning. Tastes, Well, Jim asks, it's not bad, actually. Are you kidding? No. And then I take another bite, this time with the chicken. You do realize what you're eating right now, right? You're eating sheep guts. It's kind of tasty. Oh, that's disgusting. Gemma shudders. It's funny because Gemma is usually so open-minded about everything, except when it comes to food. She's the pickiest eater I've ever met. That was something that neither of us considered before embarking on this international voyage. Hopefully she won't starve to death while she's here. True, she enjoyed breakfast this morning, but we were in an actual restaurant. Here in the hostel, our menu is rather limited. After dinner, We retreat back to our bedroom, where Gemma climbs onto the top bunk bed and falls asleep almost immediately. I, on the other hand, am somehow still wide awake. Grabbing a towel in my pajamas, I wander down the hall until I reach the bathroom. Inside, there are a grand total of 4 toilets, 2 sinks, and 3 showers. This could be interesting. There aren't many people staying here at the moment, but seeing as it's summer, that's likely to change. Of course, it doesn't feel like summer at all. It's the middle of June, but here in the Highlands, it feels like it could be late October. Well, late October in Texas, anyway. Because it's so cold and because today has been so wonderfully yet excruciatingly long, just to be able to stand here beneath the soothing, steaming water is nothing short of genuine bliss. There are a few things in life that I appreciate more than a hot shower after a busy day. God, what a day. I flew across the ocean for the first time. I set foot in a new country, a new continent for the first time. And I met Matthew Kent. Oh my God, I met Matthew Kent. We were in the same room, breathing the same air. I could have touched him if I wanted to. And in spite of everything I said to Gemma and everything that I still mostly believe, now that I'm alone, I allow my mind and my heart to drift, to fantasize, to imagine scenarios that might in fact lead to me falling into Matthew's arms, not as a starry-eyed fangirl, but as a strong, confident person, an equal, a lover. As I daydream about what it might feel like to run my hands through those golden curls, to feel his kiss on my mouth, his hands on the small of my back, a quiet voice in the back of my mind reminds me that it could never happen. But then something strange occurs. I remember the way Matthew smiled at me when I sat down next to him, how he told me that he'd enjoyed my book and actually seemed to mean it. He had spoken to me as though I already were a strong, confident person, an equal. And true, now I'm just a colleague. But for the first time, a new voice, even softer than the first, begins to whisper in the back of my mind. You know, maybe it could happen. I hope you enjoyed chapters 3 and 4 of Trashy Romance Novel. Remember, you can find it on Kindle Unlimited. You can also buy it on Kindle or on Amazon. You can find it through my website, and of course, I'll add all the links down there. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and remember, just go read a fun book, watch a fun movie, eat some ice cream, take care of yourselves. It will get better. Love y'all.